Welcome to the second and end of 2022 episode of Coaster News Roundup. I am your host, Carrick from Coaster Hour, and in this video, I will be going into the latest news and rumors in the roller coaster and theme park industry. We are going to dive straight into the news with our ride openings. For our ride openings, I'll highlight one ride here, and that is Mission Ferrari at Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi in the UAE. That's going to be opening on January 12th of 2023. So we finally have an opening date for it. That's pretty insane considering that we've pretty much been waiting so long to hear anything about this ride. This coaster was actually supposed to open in 2015. I looked back through the forums. It was announced in 2014 and they were hoping it was going to open in 2015. That obviously got delayed multiple times, and it's really been a mystery the past few years of if this ride would really truly see the light of day and when that would be. Well, we now finally have our answer at long last. It is opening in 2023. Absolutely crazy, but you love to see it. And the reason this ride has taken so long to open is this is a Dynamic Attractions SFX coaster, one of the most technologically advanced roller coasters we have ever seen, with some incredible theming and some tricks. If you know about the tricks this ride is going to pull off, it's going to be unlike anything we've ever seen on any other coaster. So definitely a very intriguing ride for that reason. And it's exciting to finally see it hopefully open in the next few weeks as planned. I'm definitely going to be intrigued to keep an eye on the first rider reactions because this ride has just had so much hype, especially built up after all this time of sort of delay. And then also, I just want to see a POV if we get one in good quality to see what the technology looks like and everything. Because if this ride works out, maybe we could see other rides incorporate elements that this ride has. So we'll kind of see how this goes, but I'm very excited to see what it looks like when it opens, and that should be very exciting. Next, we are going to go into our construction updates. Next, we're going to be going into our construction update highlights, and the two rides I want to highlight I'll get into, but the first one I'm going to go into is the 2024 attraction at SeaWorld Orlando, or at least the rumored one. So Midway Mayhem did a video update covering the construction progress of Pipeline, and he also spotted some construction walls that went up near the Sea Lion exhibit and some survey markers also kind of in that area nearby. Now, the Sea Lion exhibit is actually pretty close to where Empire of the Penguin is, which is the dark ride that has not operated for, at this point, years at the park. And there is a rumor that a coaster will be coming in 2024 that will be replacing Empire of the Penguin. And the rumor is that, or at least the speculation, is that would be something sort of on the style to like a family motorbike coaster, like think Arctic Rescue or Dark Coaster, something along those lines, Wavebreaker. The idea is that perhaps a family coaster kind of motorbike style would be coming to SeaWorld Orlando as a replacement for that ride that hasn't operated for many years at this point. And this would make sense. SeaWorld Orlando does not currently have much of a family coaster lineup. Icebreaker was supposed to fill that, and because of its height requirement increasing, it didn't. So I think this makes perfect sense, and if we do see something like an Intamin motorbike coaster come to SeaWorld, that would be great. But even with that being said, this is pretty exciting to see they are already working on a project post-Pipeline already. That's just super exciting. And that also is a reminder that for anyone who has a local SeaWorld park, keep an eye out for other construction going on outside of the 2023 project, because it appears that SeaWorld may still be adding a lot of rides in the next few years. So if that's the case, we're going to be seeing, of course, more construction. So keep an eye out for that. Definitely really intriguing what's going on at SeaWorld Orlando. For our next construction update, I want to highlight we're going to go to ArieForce 1 at Fun Spot Atlanta, and that coaster has started testing. We also have had two POVs released, which is nice, one during the day and one at night. And as an interesting little tidbit, RCDB listed a March 3rd opening for the attraction. We're not really sure where they got this information from. There's been nothing official, but usually RCDB doesn't update or list something unless they have good reason, so that is something to keep an eye on, see if that ends up holding true or not. So that would be something really exciting, and what is really exciting is that they are finally testing this coaster. That is really good to see. Obviously, if you want to ride this as soon as possible and you want ArieForce 1 to open as soon as possible, this is a great sign, great progress to be made. And March 3rd, I think that is a pretty plausible opening given now that they're testing it. I think that would be really good, especially because I do think it's a good idea for rides and coasters to open a good bit before the summer. That way they can kind of work out the issues and everything before like the big crowds come in. So that's why if this does end up being a March 3rd opening, I think that's a great idea. And this coaster definitely looks like one of the better ones to be opening in recent years. Definitely one of the most exciting coasters opening next year. And I do have my eye on riding this at some point. We'll see when that happens. But definitely a really exciting coaster. And I'm excited to ride it. And this is an extremely exciting progress that it's testing. So love to see it. And that's all I got to say for ArieForce 1. Next, we are going to go into our ride closures. For our next segment, we have train reveals, and how train reveals work is I do an initial reaction score, I give each train an initial reaction score out of 10. You can see the scale here, and the reason I call it initial reaction score is because sometimes trains look better in person or at different angles than we do with what we are originally presented when something is revealed. So that's why it's initial reaction score. And for our only train of this week, we have Flying Viking at Adventureland. This is their Zamperla Junior coaster that is going to be coming as a package edition along with the Zamperla Log Flume. Coming to, like I said, Adventureland in Iowa. They revealed their trains. And for their initial reaction score, I'm going to give the trains an 8 out of 10. I think it looks great. I really like how it sort of fits in with the Viking theme. You have the dragon head. You have the lightning symbols, like I guess for Thor most likely. And then you have like the little rivets. Just, it looks really nice along with like kind of the wooden sort of look. I think it looks really good. And then it just makes it seem like a ship, so that's why I like it. And it fits in well, like I said, with the overall Viking theme. So, like I said, great trains, and it's getting an 8 out of 10 from me. For our next bit of news, we're going to be heading to Nashville in Tennessee for a news topic relating to the Nashville Zoo. And that is that it appears they are going to be adding a dueling Vekoma family boomerang in the future, as parts arrived to the zoo a few weeks ago for one of those types of coasters as shown by records. Now, this type of coaster was actually included in a survey the zoo did back in July of 2021, so it's not super surprising they're getting it if you've been following this. Would be surprising if you haven't, because this is more of a zoo than a park, and I'll go into that in a little bit. But as for the coaster itself, this is believed to be a clone of Twistride at Wildland Zoo in the Netherlands. So that is based off the survey, because that's the one they showed in the picture. So that is why it is believed to be the clone of that. And it is still unknown if it will open in 2023 or 2024. The assumption is 2024 because the zoo hasn't announced anything yet, but that is yet to be determined. And as for the zoo itself, it's actually one of the most visited attractions in Tennessee. And they also have a 4D theater, train, zip line, and carousel for attractions. So like I said, mostly a zoo, not really much of a park. But they do have a boat ride in development for their African safari expansion. So it does seem like they are doing a few different things in terms of attractions. And they also are doing a lot of modernization projects to their exhibits. So definitely seems to be kind of a forward-thinking zoo there. And I do like seeing this coaster edition for this place. I like seeing coaster editions to zoos whenever applicable. I think it's just kind of a nice thing to have if you can put it in. Since zoos are more family-oriented, like a nice little family coaster, seems like something that would make a ton of sense. And I do think this should be a good fit and should be a great hit with all of those for really those of all ages, as this will have, of course, a dueling aspect as well, which will make the coaster all the more fun. So definitely a nice addition for Nashville Zoo, and we'll have to wait and see when this thing officially opens. Heading over to England, we have our next piece of news, and that is that Blackgang Chine has revealed their new for 2023 Zamperla Discovery Revolution. Now, for those less familiar with this park, Blackgang Chine is actually the oldest park in the entire United Kingdom, and it opened in 1843, so it definitely is pretty old. It also is a family-oriented park that's more focused on walkthrough and interactive attractions as opposed to rides, but they do have rides, they're just a little less focused on that. And this flat ride actually replaced their Cliffhanger roller coaster, which used to be their main attraction until it closed earlier this year. For me, I think that this Zamperla Discovery Revolution is a nice new thrilling flat ride, and it should serve well as the park's new sort of main ride and most thrilling attraction, so this will probably be the thing that those looking for something more thrilling, they're going to go to, so I think it serves well there, and I think overall it's a very nice addition for this park. Next, we have some announcements relating to the Plopsa group, and they actually gave us several announcements this week, with the largest ones being the ones that follow. They gave more info about Plopsaland at Pan's 2023 Circus Boomba indoor area and their Traveling with Boomba dark ride. And they also showed some concept art along with this. So that is going to be at Plopsaland at Pan in Belgium. That's the park most well known for having Ride to Happiness. Looks like it should be a nice area, more family oriented, but makes a lot of sense. And it's actually going to be themed to the Boomba Kids show, which is, I guess, quite popular in Belgium. And then we also got some more information about Majaland in Dansk, Poland, which is an upcoming park. It's supposed to be opening in 2024. They're going to be adding a Smurf area with a family coaster that on RCDB has been listed as a ArieForce coaster. Hasn't been officially confirmed by the park, so take that as you will. Probably pretty likely though. And then you have Ride to Happiness 2.0. This is an upcoming roller coaster project coming to Holiday Park in Germany. And they have mentioned that the manufacturer has been decided. They are not revealing who's manufacturing the coaster, but they have decided on a manufacturer. And I will mention this, that I know if a name like Ride to Happiness, you think of the Mach Extreme Spinner that's at Plopsa Land Japan that I mentioned earlier. Don't expect that. This is going to be a very unique ride according to them, and it's very possible this coaster won't even be manufactured by Mach Rides. So don't be expecting, like I said, a clone of that or anything too similar to that, but should be an exciting project regardless for Holiday Park, and we'll kind of have to see what happens and hear more about it as time goes on. So that's that there. And for all these announcements, different things obviously, but good to see that the Plopsa group, there's a lot of exciting things going on, and I'm sure we'll get even more information about these upcoming projects in the future. Our next bit of news takes us over to Nevada, specifically at Buffalo Bills Resort and Casino, and we have found out that Desperado has actually been considered as unsafe by the state of Nevada. Now, despite this being something that recently came out, this was determined back in 2019, but it only became known recently when one of the co-hosts of the podcast, Your Favorite Coaster Sucks, visited the recently reopened casino and took a picture of the sign placed on the coaster's control panel. They talked to an employee who indicated that the owners aren't currently able to pay the amount needed to get the ride back into operating condition. So a lot to kind of go through here. And first off, one thing that's kind of big to note is while this information is sort of new to us, this isn't something that happened recently. The sign was from 2019, and that's when it was considered to be unsafe for Desperado, the Aero Hyper. And the casino also just recently reopened. It has been closed mostly due to pandemic and other reasons, but it just recently reopened. So it's not really that surprising that the owners aren't really able to pay what is needed to get the ride back into condition. I mean, being closed so long, they just need to get the casino up and running and, get people in there. And the other thing here is we don't really know what the issue is with Desperado. And another thing I should mention here is despite this note being from 2019, we do know that Desperado has tested in more recent years. So to say that this sign means that it's like absolutely dead is, I would say, untrue. It does seem there might be some effort coming in the future to try to save this attraction. And I just wanted to mention that because we have seen it test since 2019. And there's a few other things that are a little, I guess, worth noting. Like I said, right now they're trying to get things back rolling in terms of operating the casino. But perhaps after a few months to a few years of operation, if the casino does well, if business is going well, maybe then they could be able to fund the refurbs for Desperado. So maybe they're looking at that. We'll have to wait and see. And the other thing is that there's kind of no easy way out of Desperado if they wanted to sort of get rid of it, because demolishing the ride would probably be pretty expensive because the coaster sits right next to several buildings and other structures that they would need to kind of carefully take it down. And it's such a huge coaster and structure that would probably be pretty difficult and expensive to demolish. So they got to figure something out. Hopefully they're going to be able to, like I said, get business going and they'll be able to reopen it sometime in the future, whether that's several months from now or a few years from now, whatever it may be. That would definitely be nice to see. But at least we have some sort of information now with Desperado, even if it's not new in terms of how recently it happened. It's new information that we didn't know about before, so that is at least something that we have now. Next, we're going to be talking about Adventure Landing and Shipwreck Island in Jacksonville Beach, Florida, near Jacksonville, which has received a lease extension that will allow the park to operate until September of 2023. The park was originally scheduled to close this year on December 31st, so today, when this is going to be uploaded. So that's obviously pretty big for anyone in the Jacksonville area. This is big because you have another sort of 9 months to be able to visit. And Adventure Landing, that's the family entertainment center, but they have an adjacent water park called Shipwreck Island. And some of the attractions you can find at these places are go-karts, mini golf, kiddie rides. They do have a wacky worm coaster that is their only credit. They also have a few water slides and a water coaster called the Rage, which is pretty surprising for how small the water park is, but that's pretty awesome. And like I said, this is an extended opportunity to check this place out or get the coaster credit for those of you interested and in driving distance. But when this park does eventually close, which like I said, fortunately it's been delayed, it's going to be a pretty big loss for those in the Jacksonville area, as your nearest theme park is Wild Adventures, which is about a 2-hour drive, give or take. And then your nearest water park is Daytona Lagoon, which is a 90-minute drive. So definitely a big loss for the area, but I mean, now that it's been extended with the lease and everything, that's obviously good that it's going to be operating for another year, and who knows what will happen from here. Maybe something like sort of a miracle will happen, more of an opportunity for it to happen than not now, I suppose. But regardless, like I said, nice to see that there is going to be an extension in time to experience Adventure Landing and Shipwreck Island. Next, we're heading over to England and talking about the London Resort Theme Park project. And the group behind this project actually plans to submit another application in 2023 that would include scaling back the project, which is currently listed as costing 2.5 billion British pounds or 3 billion US dollars. So scaling it back is probably the best move in terms of trying to make this place still happen. This is an ambitious destination theme park resort that was originally announced in 2012 to be going to London, England, and it has undergone many changes, and it's gone through some very high and low moments in terms of if it is like just in terms of like the confidence of it actually happening. So for anyone in the UK, obviously not the most uplifting of topics to even discuss this thing, just because of sort of the disappointment that has come with it. But when it comes to this project, plans were withdrawn in March of 2022, but they did say they were going to put in another application, and this appears to be it. It'll be coming in relatively soon. And this project is one that it was originally announced in 2012. Nothing has really happened with it, and it just sort of kind of refuses to die, I suppose. But and even still, even with it scaling back, I'm still not super confident that anything will happen here. But if you're someone who's still rooting for the London resort to still happen in some shape or form, the application will be something to keep an eye on. Maybe something can happen, but in all likelihood, I'm still going to say that I need to see it to believe it. For our next bit of news, we're heading over to Conneaut Lake Park in Pennsylvania. And we have just recently heard that the zoning hearing board has approved of Conneaut Lake Park's zoning variance, which will allow owners Keldon Holdings and Todd Joseph to have and use the land needed to convert the park into an RV park as planned. Now, Conneaut Lake Park is a very sort of old park in Pennsylvania that has had quite a wild series of events happen even prior to the new ownership, but especially with the new ownership. I think there's videos out there on YouTube and articles all about it. Pretty crazy stuff, but basically this park was in a pretty difficult spot. It got sold in 2021 to new owner in Keldon Holdings and Todd Joseph, and they were expected to sort of bring the park back to its sort of glory, but instead they've had other plans for it, which like I said now is sort of converting it into an RV park. And one of the sort of, I guess, biggest things that happened was that earlier this year in January, they actually accidentally, if you want to believe that, whether you do or not, burned down part of the iconic wooden coaster that was Blue Streak, which had been operating since like the 30s, and was their most iconic attraction and one of the more iconic wooden coasters in Pennsylvania and really just out there. So obviously pretty crazy stuff there. But this sort of approval is a significant step towards converting the park into an RV park. So if you were a big fan of Conneaut Lake Park and you don't like the direction it's going in, this is not really going to help things, but it is an update, as unfortunate as it is for some. And so that is pretty much what's going on. Conneaut Lake Park, like I said, a step closer to becoming an RV park. Simworx has unveiled their new Pegasus Flying Theater concept, and this attraction was actually revealed at IAAPA, but only in recent weeks has it been more talked about and reported on. So this Flying Theater attraction, this concept, I'm going to put some pictures here. Some interesting things about it is it's very flexible in layout, size, and capacity. So if you have different sort of building parameters, like tight space, or a very specific type of space, it can be pretty flexible and be built in different places and in different ways. So that's certainly good to see. And it also is being advertised as being able to be used for more immersive story-driven experiences, along with the traditional flyover experiences. And when they're talking about traditional flyover experiences, you're talking about rides like Soarin' or the other sort of flying theater attractions where you're basically flying over cities or different parts of the world, where story-driven experiences may be something more fantasy-like or something where it's like you're not necessarily flying through just a bunch of different locations, basically. And this attraction has also been advertised as being able to utilize interactive elements for the rider, such as the use of a button that can interact with the ride system. And I think this looks pretty cool just from the video and whatnot. I think that this concept looks pretty nice. And we've actually seen a lot of new flying theater concepts in recent weeks. I've kind of noticed it's nice to see that companies want to evolve from like the sort of flying theater attraction experiences we already have. I think there's definitely a lot more variety that can be done with those, as I've only done 2 flying theaters, but they were very similar in Soarin' and the one at Ferrari Land. Both of them go over cities, so it does seem like you can do a lot more than just that, and it's nice to see companies exploring that option a little more, and it'll be interesting to see how much interest this ride concept gets, but I'm sure it'll get at least some interest, and we'll have to see where it goes. For our last bit of news, this is sort of a bonus piece of news because whether it's really news or not, only time will tell, but I decided to put this on here. And that is that we may have a potential tease from King's Dominion, as the park posted a picture of some masks on their Twitter page that have been identified as being the ones from the queue of the former Intamin suspended launch coaster, Volcano the Blast Coaster. Now, this ride has been one of the most missed really in recent memory in terms of recently closed coasters, and many have been waiting for a Volcano replacement for years at this point, and kind of hyping it up, trying to figure out what it's going to be. We've had some, of course, sort of leaks and things and plans that we'll see if they still materialize or if they're completely dead. But, I mean, it's been something that's been talked about for a while, but we really haven't heard anything official yet from the park about what will be replacing the attraction. But some are seeing this post as a potential sign that the Volcano replacement is on its way and that this is a teaser. Some other people have stated it's just a park posting about an Easter egg, just reutilizing some of their props just in a cool way and as a callback to their former attraction. And the masks have also been up since summer, according to some, so there is also that to take into account. Now, I'm hopeful that this is some sort of tease, that this is for a replacement for Volcano. I really don't expect that it is, though, honestly. This just seems like a kind of fun little post that the social media person put up. So, but only time will tell. Maybe it is a tease, and maybe we will be getting that Volcano replacement in like the next year or two. That would obviously be really exciting, but only time will tell there. And I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you think this is an actual tease or just a little sort of Easter egg post. That will wrap it up for today's episode of Coaster News Roundup. Let me know in the comments down below about your thoughts on the news and if you have any suggestions for future episodes of this series. Make sure to like and subscribe to help support the series, and if you want to go above and beyond to help grow this series and support it, Make sure to share this video on social media or with someone you think would be interested. That would be hugely appreciated. With that being said, thank you all for watching. Have a happy new year, and I'll see you all next time here on Coaster Hour.